It's always been there, standing between you and your health. A wall. Between a pain that won't disappear and a doctor who magically appears. Between a long wait on a hospital bench and staying right where you are, at home. Between finding yourself out of medicines and finding them at your doorstep, whatever the time. Between years of health records all over the place and all your records in one organized access from anywhere place. Between your current regimen and the recommended routine. The wall. We don't need it anymore. Say hello to Apollo 24/7. This is India's largest end-to-end omni-channel healthcare ecosystem, designed to touch more lives than ever before and delivering its promise in 3 important ways. 1. Listen. Talk to us anytime from anywhere. We've got 7,000 doctors and 30,000 healthcare professionals listening. 2. Advise. We'll give you expert advice you can rely on because it comes from India's #1 healthcare provider. 3. Assist. We bring you India's largest health network of pharmacies, clinics, hospitals and health insurance experts. 20 million people already trust us for their care, and a further 50,000 people are discovering this every day. Apollo 24/7. Expertise is for everyone.
Hi everyone, welcome to the Health Hour powered by Apollo 24/7 in collaboration with Your Life. Today's topic is extremely common, super prevalent, especially with the current lifestyle changes that have really sped up over the last couple of years. It is PCOS and how do we manage it with exercise and nutrition. Before that, a little bit about me. I'm Dr. Sneha, and I have over 8 years of experience with training pre-postnatal clients, women who are pregnant and who've just delivered, and also a lot of those with lifestyle conditions like PCOS, obesity, diabetes, hypothyroidism, and a lot of others. So I'm super thrilled to be on this show and super excited to be doing this talk with our guest that I'm going to be introducing in just a short while. So a little bit about today's show. It is going to be quite different. For starters, you'll get to do a short workout with me. So if you haven't already grabbed your mat and shoes, please go ahead and do that. Secondly, we're going to be having the opportunity for you, the viewers, to ask Gayatri and I live questions, and we'll be answering them for you all towards the end of the show. And lastly, we're going to also be having a quiz where I'll be asking you all a bunch of questions, and those to answer those questions, the first few to answer those questions will be getting to win a lot of exciting prizes. So stay tuned for all of this and a lot more. So let me introduce our guest for today. She's Gayatri Chona, one of the most well-renowned nutritionists and dietitians we have out there. And she has over 12 years of experience in therapeutic dietetics and is excellent at her job. So today I'm super thrilled to be sharing the space with her to be discussing a lot more about the dietetic aspect of PCOS. And I'm also quite excited to be learning a lot from her. So let's invite Gayatri Chona onto this show, and we will get started with the health hour. Quickly before that, guys, I know that the pandemic is not leaving us anytime soon. So I urge everyone to please focus on getting themselves vaccinated if they still haven't. We have a very easy opportunity here with the Apollo 24/7 app. All you got to do is download the app, and you can basically choose from one of the countless vaccination centers, either walk in or book a prior slot, and just make sure you're vaccinated, and so are your family members. So please make sure you download this app and get your family vaccinated. Hi, Gayatri.
Hi, Sneha.
Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for the lovely introduction. And I'm really excited to be here and share the space with you.
Likewise. I hope you and your family have been safe during these trying times.
Yes. Fortunately, yes. Touch wood.
All right. So I think as I have already gone through the topic today, it's PCOS, and I'm sure you yourself would have experienced a bunch of cases where women are coming in with PCOS and trying to understand the lifestyle management, because that is probably key to treating, the condition as such. So what I wanted to first let the viewers understand is, what PCOS is, and, how do we diagnose it, what are the symptoms, and then we can take them through the lifestyle management. So PCOS actually stands for Polycystic Ovarian Syndrome. Now, if you just have the cyst in the ovaries, it is just PCO. The syndrome aspect comes in when the polycystic ovaries are associated with a bunch of other conditions. It can be diabetes, it can be hypothyroidism, it can be heart disease. So a lot of times these lifestyle conditions occur together, and that's what makes it a syndrome. That's also what makes it a lot harder to treat, because by the time a lot of patients present with these conditions, they almost always experience or present with symptoms from these other conditions. But the good thing is that apart from the medical treatment that your respective gynecs or physicians take the patients through, there is a lot lifestyle changes can do to help with the condition and help with the symptoms. So how does a patient with PCOS present with? So majority of the time, it's a lot of changes in their periods. It could be prolonged periods, it could be delayed periods, it could be early onset periods, it could be scanty bleeding. There are various changes in the period. It's almost always irregular, right? And these patients may also present with weight gain, and that doesn't mean that is a very clear sign that they have PCOS. There are also a lot of patients who are on the leaner side, who are on the skinnier side. So we do have, weight gain as one problem, not being able to lose weight is one problem. And then there's also the other spectrum where they're finding it hard to gain, weight and muscle mass. Another symptom that you see a lot, I think, is, when they start to present with a lot of facial hair, body hair, or, there is thinning of scalp hair. This is again quite common. And we also have those with mood changes. They are depressed, they're finding it hard to sleep, they're anxious all the time. So these are a few symptoms that the patients with PCOS actually present with. And when it comes to the diagnosis, I think both Gayatri and I, end up meeting patients who have almost always gone to their physicians and end up being diagnosed, and that's why they come to either of us or both for the right, lifestyle regimen to get on board with. And these diagnostic criteria are very specific. You cannot miss the diagnosis. It's very clear cut. So you need to have 2 out of the 3 symptoms, or the 3 symptoms that I'll be running through. The first one is basically any of the symptoms of irregular ovulation or anovulation. So the patient is not ovulating on time, or it's irregular, or she's not ovulating at all. And the symptoms are basically what I had ran through, which is, irregular periods. The second is presenting with any symptoms that that shows that there is hyperandrogenism, which is increase in the male type hormones in the female. And again, they present with symptoms like facial hair, loss of scalp hair, and acne, these kind of symptoms. And the third is obviously your proper diagnostic evidence, which is, an ultrasound diagnosis of having to present a cyst in the ovary. And, that is clear-cut a picture that you do have PCOS. So I think 2 out of these 3 will put you in the right diagnosis of PCOS, and that's basically how you know you have it. A lot of people come to us asking, why is it that I ended up with PCOS, and what are the likely causes? There hasn't really been a clear-cut study showing or pinpointing the exact cause. But right now, we're able to narrow it down to, there is definitely a genetic element to it. It can be hereditary, but majority of the time, it's almost always from lifestyle changes, from poor, sleeping habits or eating habits, being sedentary, not being active, not getting enough rest, and of course, taking in a lot of stress, because all of this basically just, puts your body through chronic inflammation. And this inflammation is what is leading to all the, the fluctuation in the hormones and finally landing yourself in this situation. So these are mostly the general causes. And I would like to stress a little bit on the connection of PCOS with metabolic syndrome, because that's again something both of us see in patients, like they almost always present with something else. So metabolic syndrome is a few lifestyle diseases put together, and this is mostly a heart disease, a thyroid condition, PCOS, diabetes, and hyperlipidemia or dyslipidemia, where your lipid levels are, out of place. So when someone has one condition out of the metabolic syndrome, they're almost always at a high risk of developing the other conditions. So which is why when you do see a patient with PCOS, it's always best to rule out all the other conditions to make sure they don't fall into that category. And also, especially keeping in mind the diet, you have different diets that you have to follow with different conditions. And I think Gayatri will be able to, highlight more on that in some time. So it is quite important to basically look into this entire spectrum of conditions and not just look at it as one condition and, just focusing on those symptoms. So that is just, giving you all an idea of what PCOS is and how a person can present with PCOS and, how do you diagnose it. Now, one of the common symptoms which I have missed is actually people presenting with infertility, being unable to, get pregnant. That is, again, one of the huge problems that we are facing in women at the moment. So again, all of the information we'll be sharing today will help all of you all your family members find a solution from this condition. So Gayatri, I just wanted to basically help the viewers understand the dietary aspect, the nutrition aspect to managing PCOS. So what is it that, you think are the best dietary tips that you can give the viewers, and what are the common myths that you come across, and, how do we bust them? If you can just highlight a little bit on that, it'll be great.
Sure. So I think you really, put everything very well in a nutshell, all about PCOS and the symptoms. And I have to say that, yes, PCOS is a mix of a lot of things. It's not just one syndrome, right? It is high inflammation in the body. It comes with a metabolic factor in where there is insulin insensitivity. There could be hypo or hyperthyroidism that comes in. And the third aspect is the emotional aspect, which a lot of times is missed out. people who suffer with PCOS, they don't even realize that they go through depression, they go through emotional ups and downs because of irregular periods, facial acne, and more often than not, they're these young girls who don't even know what's going on, right? They're figuring it out. They've just started getting their periods. They're irregular. Women who are trying to conceive. So in all age groups is what PCOS is found. It's not just in the younger ones. A lot of people think that only the younger girls get PCOS, or when you're later in life trying to conceive a child is when you have PCOS. What tends to happen is that is when you're kind of diagnosed of PCOS. It is not something that, and as you said, it is more common than we know. There are studies which have shown that at least 8 to 9 out of 10 women show symptoms of PCOS, and it is not addressed. So when it comes to managing PCOS, it has to be a mix of everything. We have to look at the physical aspect of it, we have to look at the dietary aspect of it, and the emotional aspect of it to manage it. Another thing which I would like to point out, and people tend to forget with PCOS, is people look for quick solutions. Often they feel that just taking a pill, your hormone pill will kind of take away the facial hair, will give them the regular periods, and they're cured of PCOS. Unfortunately, that is not the case. What hormone pills do is they just give you symptomatic relief. To manage PCOS, it has to be a lifestyle change in a lot of different ways, which comes into play. So one of the most important things when it comes to managing PCOS is one, controlling the inflammation. And if we, most of our inflammatory markers, all of them reside in our gut. So that's why they say you are what you eat. So keep healing the gut is the first step to managing your PCOS. Whenever there is high inflammation in the body is when our body will act out in different ways, creating constipation, giving facial acne, creating a hormonal imbalance, so you have irregular periods. The minute we start balancing our gut and healing the gut, and that comes with 2-3 things. One is reducing high inflammatory foods. Now, the reason why we see PCOS is more prevalent today is because of the kind of food that we are all eating, the amount of refined foods and processed food that we have access to, which wasn't there back in the day. Our lifestyle are more sedentary. We are not active enough. We are not, burning enough of those calories that we're consuming. We're sitting more in front of our screens. And now, thanks to COVID, we're not even going out and being as active as we used to be. We're all working on our laptops. Kids are all homeschooling without getting enough play. So all these things kind of come in, making it worse and increasing the inflammation in our body. So making sure that our diet, we start eliminating processed and refined foods is the first step to kind of healing your gut and managing your PCOS symptoms. So that is critical. The second is our balancing of our body's circadian rhythm. Now, what is a circadian rhythm? There is this whole thing about what it is. We heard it in different, diet and nutrition articles. We heard it on different social media platforms. So the circadian rhythm is nothing but our sleep and wake cycle. And for us, it is the cycle of the sun. Our body follows the cycle of the sun. So when we wake up is when our metabolism, our digestive metabolism is also waking up. And as the sun kind of peaks is when our metabolism, gets active. And that's when our hunger kicks in, our gastric juices kick in, and our digestion is at its best. And as the day kind of progresses, when the sun is setting, is when our system is getting more sluggish and slow, and that's when we need to balance our food accordingly. So what a lot of people do is we don't follow our circadian rhythm. We have irregular eating habits. We wake up at different timings. Our lunch and dinner timings are erratic. Some people are eating late night at 9-10 in the night. Few people will graze through the day. We'll, walking around, we'll munch, open the cupboard of biscuits and, kind of land up eating, not mindfully eating, but just because it's in front of us. And that's another problem, right? It's the problem of plenty. We all have access to all the rich and good food. So we're not mindful of what we're taking in and how much we're eating. So balancing our sleep and wake cycles is critical to, again, reduce inflammation and manage PCOS. Now, sleep is another thing which is not given enough importance, and our body needs rest and recovery, because only when we sleep is when our body is recuperating, our hormones are getting balanced, all the rest and repair is happening. Whenever there is lack of sleep, our metabolism gets even slower. And that's the biggest problem in PCOD, right? In PCOD, the biggest complaint I get is that I work out so much and I diet so much, but I'm not losing weight. My metabolism is very sluggish. Now, we always talk about exercise, we talk about diet, but we often forget that sleep plays a very important role in, making sure that that metabolism is also active and running. If you make any machine work on low fuel, it will not function at its full capacity. The same thing is with our body. If our body is functioning on lack of sleep, it's not charged enough, it will not give us the results that we're looking for. So that is the next thing. The third is, which is the most common, is carbs, which are always the biggest villains of any diet. The first thing I will have, women come and tell me, hey, I've given up all my carbs. I don't eat any carbs. I'm following a low calorie diet and, but I'm not just losing weight. So when it comes to PCOS and the whole weight dilemma, what I would like to point out here is that losing weight in PCOS is not the same for a person who's just trying to lose weight, right? It is different. A person who's going through PCOS has a lot of other things which is independent of just the weight gain. As you said, insulin insensitivity is very big. Insulin insensitivity is when our body is taking in the food, taking in the sugar, but the cells are not responding to the sugar in the blood and they're not taking it up. So the body has excessive sugar, but the cells are resistant to the insulin and not taking up the sugar efficiently. So we land up eating, but it's all getting converted to fat rather than energy. That's why people suffering with PCOS are often very lethargic, very sleepy. They don't have that active metabolism as what other people have. So they feel that carbs are the culprit. If I need to lose weight, I need to give up the carbs from my diet. Unfortunately, that's the worst thing you can do. When you follow crash diets or very low calorie diets, what tends to happen is our body goes into a shock and not in the right way. Again, there is an imbalance of the gut bacteria. The body doesn't know what's going on. There's this whole host of microbiome which sits in our gut, which is suddenly like, hey, what's going on? Where is the food? Where is my diet? And then the gut bacteria start craving. So that's when our body starts hoarding. When we completely eliminate carbs from our diet, it creates a craving to eat more. And then that craving comes out as binge eating. Most people say they will diet for a week and then on one fine day pick up that bowl of cake or the packet of potato chips and finish it off in one go, because that is what crash diets do. They land up creating a craving in the body and the body starts hoarding. So we have to remember that eating carbs is very important, but eating clean carbs is essential. Now, carbs are not the villain of your weight loss journey. What we need to realize is that they actually support it. If we have carbs which are rich in fiber, our complex carbs, even our vegetables are great sources of carbohydrates. If we have a mix of complex and simple carbs, which are clean, unrefined, unprocessed, the body will actually use them better. We will get fiber from it, and fiber is very important to give us, a clean, squeaky clean gut. Because if you're constipated, if the toxins are there in the body, it comes out as acne. The body will show it. So it's all interrelated. And the more of processed and refined foods in our body, the more we will land up with more symptoms of PCOS. So do not eliminate carbs. Manage the carbs that you eat, having low glycemic index foods, eating clean carbs, rich in fiber. Fiber is very, very important. So that is the third thing when it comes to carbs. Proteins and fats are always what is given more importance, that, hey, I'm going to have a high protein diet. Again, proteins are essential, but the kind of protein we eat, how much we eat is important. We do not want to overdo dairy because, just because it is high in protein. A lot of people line up having bowls of yogurt and glasses of milk, not realizing that dairy is very inflammatory. It causes the hormonal imbalance. It just pushes it into overdrive, the hormonal imbalance. So managing your protein content and making sure that you eliminate the high inflammatory foods. Gluten is another one. So when we talk about carbs, when we eat things like pasta and biscuits and bread, we are taking in more and more gluten, which is again going to create inflammation of the gut. But if we switch to more of our homegrown millets, which are naturally gluten free. It could be even rice for that matter, things like jawar, bajra, ragi. These are great sources of your B complex vitamins, great sources of fiber, great sources of iron, calcium, and your complex carbs that come in. So you are taking in the carbs, but you're taking in the healthy carbs along with a host of other vitamins that kind of come with it. The next vitamin, which is also have shown some fantastic, results with managing PCOS, is vitamin D. And it's the unfortunate part is that vitamin D is actually just the sunlight vitamin. But because of the lives we're living, the sedentary lives, our body does not get enough of the vitamin D from the sun. So we have to supplement it. Then other thing when it comes to your fat soluble vitamins like vitamin D is if we when people follow completely low calorie diets and they remove fat from the diet, they don't realize that for all the absorption of the vitamins, we need fat. So you may be eating, all the foods that you think are great. You may be having your salads, or you may be having, all your vegetables. But if there is very little or no fat, those vegetables and salads will not get the nutritional value from it, because we will not be able to absorb those vitamins from the food that we eat. So making sure that we have a balance of the right fat, the right carbs, and the right protein, which are low in inflammation, which do not cause inflammation, or low inflammatory nature, will kind of balance our PCOS better. The third is exercise, and exercise is something which I think you'll be better to explain. But in my experience, it's always been with exercise is, people work out for 2 hours in the gym, and they will kind of push themselves to, over exercise with very little calories coming in, and still see little to no results. And that can be very frustrating for most women. So when it comes to exercise, doing the balance of exercise, which is not just high intensity, but also exercise which will kind of, calm you down. So things like yoga, Pilates, which are low intensity or moderate intensity, have also shown to give excellent results in managing PCOS. And most importantly, what I have come to see is that if you don't enjoy the exercise you do, you could burn it for hours in the gym, but it is not going to kind of give you any result because you're not happy doing that exercise. So it is essential that you pick an exercise that you like and do moderate to and do a combination of your high intensity and low intensity, rather than just run for 2 hours, or pump in the gym for 2 hours. So this has been my experience when it comes to supporting people with exercise and guiding them into how can you manage your exercise along with the food you eat. So that is one. The other thing which has given excellent results in managing PCOS is intermittent fasting. Now, in fasting is nothing but just giving our body enough rest and recovery. When we keep eating through the day mindlessly, our body does not get enough time to process and digest the food. And that's when the food we eat gets converted to fat faster rather than be used as energy. So when we follow things like intermittent fasting, where we give our gut a break for about 12 to 14 hours, we're giving it that rest and recovery time to heal, to reduce the inflammation. So having 3 to 4 meals, but at an interval where you're not mindlessly grazing through the day, will give you better result in managing the PCOS. So these are a few things when it comes to the lifestyle and dietary aspect. The other thing which which really helps is, which in my experience is something which works very well, is seed cycling. And seed cycling is nothing but there are certain seeds which kind of eaten during the right time of the month will just help to balance those hormones for your periods to come better. But that alone itself is not the solution. You have to kind of follow it with the other. So I can, talk a little bit more about the seed cycling. When it comes to seed cycling, it is, so our, right, our day 1 to 14, which is our follicular phase, and the day 15 to 28, which is called the luteal phase, right? It's in the first phase. So if you include seeds like your sunflower, your pumpkin seeds and flax seeds in the first 14 days of your menstrual cycle, so the zinc that is pregnant, the estrogen, your progesterone levels, and reduce the estrogen levels. Now, it's the estrogen which plays havoc. When there's an imbalance of the estrogen levels, is when our period cycles go out of whack. So, including spoons every added to your salads, it could be added to your roti, you could have it like like a mouth freshener, like your mukwas. These are just simple things to the way you can kind of your sunflower seeds and sesame seeds is great. They are excellent sources of calcium. Again, give your body the progesterone boost that it needs to kind of balance your hormones to make sure your period cycles are more regular, will help a lot.
I think there was a slight connection, but I got a gist of a lot of, there's a lot of information out there. I think what was amazing for me was to hear some really crucial information, like how there's this entire emotional aspect involved with those dealing with PCOS, and I think that is probably one of the most ignored factor, and it's extremely important. And I love that you had stressed about the carbohydrate intake, because actually the main culprit of PCOS is insulin resistance. And a lot of people think that because there is insulin resistance, maybe if I just cut out the carbs out of my diet, I'd be great. But I love that you brought in the fact that we need the body to understand that it's getting the right nourishment at the right time. Otherwise, it's going to assume that it's in a starvation mode, and that it just has to store everything as fat, and that also basically causes more inflammation, and then more chaos with the hormones. I think that was a very valid input. And then there was this other thing you had mentioned about sleep. It's so interesting because there have been studies which suggest that sleep actually messes, lack of sleep rather, or poor sleep actually messes with your hunger hormones. So you end up waking up feeling not only groggy and, just restless and tired, but you're also really hungry. And, because there's no, that entire equilibrium that is basically messed up because of the lack of sleep is trickling down into your eating habits, and it's trickling down into your mood swings and all of that. So that is extremely important that people are looking at the emotional aspect, the sleep aspect, and of course understanding everything else that you have mentioned about what kind of food groups to include in the diet itself. So I think what I will quickly run through is the exercise aspect that I think even Gayatri had stressed on. What is very important is that people understand the right kind of training to involve, because I do get a lot of clients who are struggling to lose weight when they do all forms of training, right? So the key, like Gayatri mentioned, is understanding that resistance training, and not something that's not extremely intense, but something that's using all the muscles of the body, is extremely effective. So the more lean muscle you pack on, the more you're able to use the glucose that's basically floating around without being utilized. You're able to take in the glucose, you're able to uptake the glucose without using the insulin. So the more you work out, you're allowing this process of, like a bypass, to basically control the entire pathology that's happening in the body. You can basically make sure that blood glucose levels drop without having to directly use the insulin. And also, the more muscle mass you have, the more you're able to make space for this, for the glucose. So I think what people need to understand is to include a lot of resistance training, Also, high intensity interval training also is very, very effective. What you don't want to do is excess cardio, which is going to basically put your body through a lot more inflammation. So what we will quickly do is I have a very short workout planned for you all, and I will basically run you all through the workout. And please grab your shoes, grab your mat, and we'll get into this quick workout. So the reason I wanted to talk a little bit about the interval training is we will be doing today's workout in intervals. So interval training is basically a couple of seconds of work and a couple of seconds of rest. And today we'll be doing 4 exercises, and we'll work for 40 seconds, and then we will take rest for 20 seconds, and then we'll repeat the move. So I'm going to just get my timer quickly started, and we can get onto the mat. So usually, guys, we want to try and do a very quick warm-up before we get started with the workout. But because it's hard to explain all of this in one show, what I would like you all to do is probably the first round you can go a little bit easy, so that can be your warm-up for the rest of the workout. And then the next two rounds you can basically really push yourself. What you want to highlight, even if you are doing the workouts for yourself or helping your family members, make sure the movements are basically full body. You're using, you can even use your own body as resistance and train, or you can use weights, you can use free weights or machines. Make sure the muscles are working. And also with intervals, you want to make sure that for that work time, you want to give it your 120%. And then you have the rest time to basically just calm down and recover and get ready for the next workout. So we will start with the first move. It's going to be a glute bridge. I'm going to show all 4 moves first, quickly demonstrating them, and then we will do the workout together. So the first move is going to be a glute bridge. I just want you all to lie down on your mat. So if you spread out your palm, an inch beyond that is where you want to place your feet. Now from here, we thrust using the hips, using your butt muscles or your glutes, and then you drop down, just about snick the floor, and then push back up. If you're doing this right, all the work is on the glutes. All right, that's the first move. The second one, we're going to do an animal flow move. It's called a side kick through. Again, an extremely effective full body move. So I'm on my toes first, where the knees are right under the hips and the shoulders are right over the palms. From here, I'm going to take my knees off. We call this the beast. And you're just going to twist your body, kick through, and imagine you're pulling a band away from your foot. And then we drop back down, kick sideways, and then come back to the center. All right. So if this is challenging, you can just rest your knees every time. Probably do the side kick through, rest your knees, pause. Again, get up, do the side kick through, rest your knees, and pause. All right. So that's your second move. For the third one, we're going to drop into a moving plank. So I'm going to show this on the knees. Ideally, you want to do it on the toes, but I'm going to first show it on the knees. Hold the knee plank, shoulders, hips, knees in one straight line. All right, then we drop down onto your elbows, come back up onto your palms. Again, drop down to your elbows, come back up onto your palms without swaying the hips too much. Yeah. All right, and the last one is just targeting a little bit of the core. You're going to be dropping into some bird dog. So again, it's a very effective full body move. It's not just targeting the core, but I'm also getting to use my glutes and my shoulders. So core tucked in this 4-point position, I'm just going to take both my arm and knee in, and then I'm going to straighten out the body, really squeezing my upper back and really squeezing the opposite glutes. Drop back down. Again, tuck in, squeeze and open up, drop back down. All right. So I'm starting the timer now, guys. We're going to start with the first move, which is the glute bridge. So starting in 10 seconds, you will be able to hear the timer along with me. So let's get started with a very short but effective workout. All right. Getting into some bridges, lifting the hips all the way up, and then we drop back down. If you think you want to get a little more core activation, then you can also tuck your head in a bit and then get into the bridges. If you want to rest your head, that's absolutely fine. But remember, the work is basically through the glutes, and you're not working any other muscle, mostly just your glutes, a little bit in the back of the leg, which is your hamstring. All right. So exhale at the top, inhale as you go down. Nice and slow. And remember, at the bottom, you're not resting your hips fully, just about a snick, and then coming up. All right. We're moving into the second exercise, which is the side kick through. All right, which is the animal flow movement, one of my favorite exercises of all time. So that was your 20 seconds rest. This is good for you to recover, and then we move into the next one. All right, getting into the beast. Kicking through, making sure you're pulling your arm in, coming back, exhale, inhale, exhale, inhale. All right. Make sure you're keeping that box intact. You don't want to bring your knees too close to the palms. Exhale, coming back to the center, and inhale. It's very, very important to synchronize your breathing with the movement. A lot of people don't understand when they're supposed to be breathing in, when they're supposed to be breathing out. That's your rest out there. We're going to move into the moving plank. You ideally want to exhale whenever you're exerting yourself, whenever it's hard. That's where you exhale and you engage your core, right? So I'm going to show you guys how we do the moving plank. Like I said, ideally, you do it on the toes. I'm going to show you guys the first one on the knees, and then we can do the toes. So this is your knee plank. Drop down onto your elbows, back up again onto your palms. Wherever the elbows have dropped, that's where you want to place your palms. Lift back up. Try not to stick your bum out and try not to drop the bum too low. All right, you always want to maintain a nice straight line with the rest of the body, and you can keep alternating your arms, just like that. Again, exhale as you come up, inhale as you go down. Easy work. All right, resting out there. The next round we can do a slightly harder version. So every move is very easy to increase the resistance either with your own body or with weight, or to probably increase the time, make it a little more intense. So the last one, we're going to be doing some bird dogs onto your fours, and let's go alternating, dropping down, in, exhale. Give the glutes a real big squeeze. Very nice work. Inhale, exhale. See how I'm not twisting my hips at all? If you were to have like a glass of water on your back, the best way is to make sure it doesn't fall off. Then you know you're doing the move right. It's also very important to squeeze the upper back muscles. A lot of us don't really use our upper back enough. We're always slouching forward and very poor posture. So we want to really work the upper back as well. So contract the upper back as you lift the arm up. So that was the first round, guys. We're just going to do 2 more. Now you can try and up your intensity, and let's see how well we go with the second round. Starting with the bridges again, all the way up. As mentioned, you want to exhale wherever it's hard. All right, so here, picking the hips up is hard, so I'm going to exhale. And going down is just gravity, so it's much easier to just drop down. Very nice work. Just a few seconds. Remember, you can totally play around with these timings. It can be 40-15, it can be 30-40, anything. Oops, I missed that. All right. Moving back to your side kick through. We're going to drop to the fours again. All right, so now if you want to increase the pace, you can go with it. Or if you want to take it a little bit easy, remember to rest your knees every time. All right, you always want to taper the movement based on your fitness level. So core tucked in, we're just going to get the leg through, come back to the center, exhale, back to the center. Make sure you're really straightening out your leg. Another way is to also rest the leg down and then pull through, so it makes it a little bit easy for you to do the movement. Nice work. We just have 10 seconds on the clock. And rest. All right, back to the moving plank. So I was saying that I'm going to show you guys the plank version. You can do the exact same move on your toes. The easier version is to basically drop to your knees. All right, so let's do probably 20 seconds on the toes, and then 20 seconds you can drop to the knees. This is on your toes. So just dropping down. It is way more challenging, but it's more effective. Right, dropping down again, making sure you place your palm just where the elbow is. All right, I've broken into a sweat. So if you guys haven't, I don't think you're doing it right. Very nice. Right, let's just get in a few more reps up here. And relax. All right, we have one move, guys, and we'll probably get to the rest of the show. So let's just finish with one move. That was just to sort of demonstrate. You can totally do 3 rounds, 4 rounds, whatever you like with it. All right, so one final move. We'll just finish with the bird dog and jump into the rest of the show. All right, knee and arm coming in and squeezing the mid back at the top. Right, it's not just the glutes working, we're working the entire body. Nice work. Remember that glass of water over your backs. That's the most important cue you want to remember here. 10 seconds on the clock. And one last breath. Easy. All right. That was a lot of fun. So if you guys did the workout with me, that's awesome. Remember, you can do multiple rounds, all right? It's not just sticking to 2 rounds. All right, so what we will jump into is probably getting into the Q&A. I have a bunch of questions that I've been receiving throughout this show, and I'm going to start off with probably asking Gayatri a few. There are a lot of nutrition-based questions, so let's see which ones we take up.
Sneha, by the way, the exercises were fantastic. And
yeah,
I think
I'm
the
like,
best part about of it was that you can do it at home, you can do it in a hotel room, you can do it anywhere. All you need is a mat and motivation,
absolutely.
I think.
Absolutely.
So,
yeah. So, Rasi, we have a bunch of questions. A lot of them are nutrition related. So, let's see. Okay. I'm going to get into a few of them. So, all right. Any interesting ways to add seeds to my diet now that you've gone through seed cycling? What are interesting ways to add seeds to the diet?
So yes, there's a bunch of ways. We can be very experimental. We can do it as we like it. It doesn't have is in salads. So when you put it, it gives the crunch to the salad. It increases the nutritional value. So add it to your salads. Add it to a granola. Even immunity balls. So what is for people who have the sweet craving, you can add some chopped nuts and you put seeds and you can just bind it all together and make like an immunity chop. you can have one ball every day. So you get your requirement of seeds
Absolutely.
in. So there are multiple ways to use it. You can even add it to your roti atta. So if you eat methi theplas, or if you like to have your jawar rotis, just sprinkle the seeds on top. You could add it to your avocado toast. So I mean, I can go on. So these are just a few ways, but you can use it in any which way.
Got it. So there's another question. Probably I'll answer this one. So is it safe to take birth control with PCOS? So in fact, the medications which are used for birth control are actually used as a part of a symptomatic treatment for PCOS. So it is okay, but then it's completely based on what your gynec or your obstetrician, feels. So it's always best to take a specialist opinion before you jump into taking these medications. Another question for you, Gayatri, is what would make for a perfect PCOS lunch?
Oh, wow. I mean,
Too many to pick from.
to your diet, right? You have to see what time your lunch comes into your day. But lunch is a very important meal because, as I mentioned, your circadian rhythm, right? Lunchtime is the time when our digestive juices are at full capacity, including a complex carb, as in the form of brown rice. It could be a bajra, jawar, or ragi roti, or it could be a moong dal chilla, which is great because your moong dal chilla will give you the fiber. It'll also give you a bit of protein and complex carbohydrate. So it could be a stuffed moong dal chilla. It could be a big bowl of green vegetables and your, one of your millet rotis. Makes a great lunch. So don't eliminate
So
things.
that's
Include everything in the diet.
great. So Gayatri made that sound like a very delicious lunch recipe, which I'm going to try today. So another question is, I think it's more exercise specific. So can exercise help with painful periods? So in my experience, a lot of women are confused if they should train when they're on their period. Honestly, your intensity of the training may come down, but you will end up feeling a lot better if you just keep moving. So even if it's a low intense workout, I would suggest please try and get in a workout because what it does condition your muscles. So it allows your muscles to relax a little bit at the end of the workout. So that spasm you're feeling, especially in your back, can be alleviated if you do train something that's on a light to moderate intensity. So there's another thing. So is how bad is milk and gluten for PCOS? That's for you, Gayatri.
All right. So it is, again, I'm going to, reiterate that it is not just the milk and gluten, right? The problem is the processed food and how we eat the gluten. If you have just a simple wheat roti, it's not so bad. But if you land up having refined pastas and breads and bakery products, then yes, that gluten will play havoc with your system. The same thing when it comes to milk. Now, ghee is also coming from milk, but ghee is great for us if you have it in limited amounts. But when we overdo glasses of milk, or we have it as in forms of refined cheeses, which is again a form of dairy, is what will land up with inflammation. So the biggest inflammatory foods are not just a food group. So don't just look at milk in isolation or gluten in isolation, but how it is being consumed in the diet. The biggest inflammatory foods, according to me, are the processed and ready-to-eat refined foods, which basically have very high shelf life, full of multiple other preservatives and chemicals that go into the manufacturing of the food. Your colas and diet sodas, these are the things which will cause your hormones to go out of balance. It will put your gut bacteria completely off balance. So be mindful of those rather than just look at milk and gluten in isolation. But yes, people suffering with PCOS should reduce the quantity of milk consumed if they have a lot of it, and how they're taking it in.
All right. Another question is, can PCOS affect your chances of getting pregnant? So yeah, I think both of us did talk about how PCOS, one of the main symptoms is infertility because of irregular ovulation or anovulation, right? So definitely, it is one of the reasons you're probably still struggling to get pregnant. And if you get your lifestyle changes in place and get back on track with all your habits, then I think there are great chances of you being able to get pregnant. So one more question to you guys: can PCOS cause bloating?
Yes, it is not just only PCOS that causes bloating. It is what we're eating. And again, if people who are, struggling with weight loss when they, in the process of, trying to lose weight, if they follow crash diets or, diets which are, where you're eliminating food groups or, going opting for foods which are high in inflammatory nature, then yes, your body will be bloated. Bloating is a sign that our gut is not balanced. It is a sign of gut bacteria which is in imbalance. So include pre and probiotics in your diet to help with the bloating. It will settle the bloating. Especially a lot of women find that they are more bloated in the second half of the day. Another problem with PCOS is weight fluctuations. A lot of women will tell me my weight in the morning is different from my weight in the second half of the day. And that is because of water retention and bloating. So make sure you're hydrating well. The salt that you eat in the diet, you're not having too many sauces and foods which are very high in sodium, because that will also lead to water retention and bloating.
Absolutely. So I think there's another question about something we covered earlier too, which is a lot of doing a lot of cardio but not seeing any difference in the weight. So it goes back to the same thing. A lot of cardio, like you're running, or you're just trying to get in a lot of jumping jacks and movements like that, where you're not probably including other movement forms and just sticking to one cardio-based exercise. That's going to put your body through a lot of stress, and it's probably flaring up the already increased cortisol levels in the body. So you want to find a balance between your cardio and your strength and make sure it's a full body movement, and that's probably when you're going to be seeing the most results. One last question before we sign off. So let's, I think, what is one other herb or food that can help regularize periods other than seeds?
So the other thing that works is cinnamon. Cinnamon is known naturally to balance our blood insulin levels and our blood sugar levels. So having a little bit of cinnamon in the morning, first thing in the morning, as soon as you wake up, will also help to regularize and balance your sugar through the day. So make sure you're having more clean food. Add cinnamon, ginger, even turmeric. These are all foods which naturally reduce inflammation and balance our insulin and sugar. So yes, you can try including those, which will also help.
All right. All right, Gayatri. So I would like to thank you so much for being on the show with me, and it was a pleasure getting to discuss so much about PCOS, a lot of things that even I wasn't aware of. So thank you so much for being a part of this show.
Thank you for having me. It was a pleasure being here and, discussing things which are so common and which we fail, there's some small things which a lot of us, I think, take for granted and we fail to realize. We think we're doing the right thing, but, often we kind of get
Absolutely.
caught up with too much information out there.
Yeah. All right, guys. Now is the time for the quiz. Since most of you all have been waiting for this for the whole time. So I'm going to shoot across 3 quick questions, and whoever is the first to answer, we're going to pick the names, and I'll be announcing those names at the end. So the first question: what is the full form of PCOS? What is the full form of PCOS? That's the first one. The second question: PCOS can cause infertility. True or false? And the third question: how much cashback do Circle members get? Those are your 3 questions. All right. So winners, I'm going to announce your names in just a few seconds. You will be winning a lot of exciting gift vouchers. Those are your 3 questions, guys. also. While we're waiting to get the names of the winners, I'd like to quickly run through Circle, which is basically a premium membership for the viewers on Apollo 24/7. So you have a lot of exciting things. If you are a Circle member, guys, you basically get 50% cash back if you use the code Circle50. And you are basically getting a lot of other things, which is quick access to the doctors and all these discounts and personalized healthcare solutions. But more importantly, make sure you're using the code Circle50 to avail all these services to get 50% of discount in cashback. We're just waiting now for the winners' names. All right, so we have Pravalika Pachimala. That's for the first question. And we have Shruti Karalgikar. I hope I'm pronouncing these names right. And we also have Mrunal Pandole. Congratulations, guys. You will be getting a bunch of exciting offers, and we will be contacting you all soon. So these are the names again. I'm going to reread them. Pravalika Pachimala, Shruti Garalgikar, and Runal Pandole. All right. So thank you all for being a part of this show. I had a blast during the entire show with Gayatri, and I hope you were able to grasp a lot of information that probably you weren't aware of earlier. And I hope we've been helpful, and probably see you all sometime soon. Thank you.